How a YouTube star, Nas Daily, lost his empire. There was a time when Nas Daily seemed to have it all. He was a YouTube sensation, a globe-trotting storyteller, and a self-proclaimed one-minute educator. His face, his smile, his signature enthusiasm, it was inescapable. People loved him. They shared his videos, they quoted his catchphrases, and they believed in his mission to make the world a better place 1 minute at a time. But as the saying goes, the higher you climb, the harder you fall, and fall he did. It wasn't just one single misstep that brought him down, it was a series of actions, decisions, and revelations that slowly peeled back the layers of his carefully crafted persona. What emerged was a picture of a man who, for all his charm and charisma, was deeply flawed. A man who, in his pursuit of fame and fortune, lost sight of the very values he claimed to uphold. It started with whispers, quiet rumors that grew louder over time. People who had worked closely with him began to share their experiences, painting a picture far removed from the cheerful, inspirational persona he presented to the world. Former interns and employees described a toxic work environment where exploitation was the norm. They spoke of being overworked, underpaid, and treated with little to no respect. One intern recounted the grueling hours they endured, skipping meals for months and losing significant weight just to keep up with the relentless demands. Improvement doesn't matter if you're still not hitting your target, they were told. A cold reminder that their well-being was secondary to productivity. Another former team member revealed the absurd expectations placed on them, including being required to answer calls at 3 a.m. on weekends as if their personal lives held no value. The company, it seemed, had built its success on the backs of young foreign workers who were often unaware of their rights or too afraid to speak up. These stories, once hidden behind a glossy facade of his videos, began to surface, exposing a darker side to the empire he had built. The cracks in his carefully constructed image were starting to show, and the whispers soon turned to a roar of discontent. Then came the controversies that would mark the beginning of his downfall. In the Philippines, Nas found himself at the center of a scandal involving Apo Wang Od, the country's oldest and last traditional tattoo artist, revered as a national treasure. He was accused of manipulating the 103-year-old woman into signing a contract she didn't fully understand, allegedly securing exclusive rights to her image and story for his content. The backlash was swift and fierce, with the Filipino community rallying to protect their cultural heritage. The Philippine government even intervened, and Nas narrowly avoided arrest. The incident sparked widespread outrage, with many accusing him of exploiting a vulnerable elder for his personal gain. He exploited a grandmother who represents our culture, one critic noted. He's a scammer, and we've been saying it for years. This controversy was a turning point, exposing a pattern of behavior that prioritized profit over respect for the people and cultures he claimed to celebrate. It wasn't just about one contract, it was about the betrayal of trust and the exploitation of those who trusted him to share their stories authentically. The fallout from this scandal would haunt him, and it became a symbol of his growing disconnect from the very audience that had once adored him. But the Philippines was just the beginning. In Mauritius, Nas made a video claiming the country was 100% immigrant, a statement that deeply offended locals who had lived there for generations. Mauritians, proud of their rich history and cultural identity, felt erased by his careless generalization. When called out, Nas dismissed the criticism with a flippant remark, telling people to go have fun at the beach. His tone-deaf response only fueled the outrage, as it showed a lack of respect for the very people he claimed to celebrate. In Malaysia, Nas found himself in hot water after attempting to enter the country using a second passport to bypass restrictions on Israeli citizens. His actions were seen as deceptive and disrespectful, leading to his eventual ban from the country. In Bali, he stirred controversy with a video titled "The Widest Island in Asia," which many locals found reductive and dismissive of their vibrant culture. The video painted Bali as a playground for Western tourists, ignoring the island's deep-rooted traditions and the struggles of its native population. And then there was Vietnam, where Nas was accused of misrepresenting the country and its people. His portrayal of Vietnam was criticized for being superficial and lacking nuance, leaving many viewers feeling misunderstood and disrespected. Each misstep added to the growing resentment as people began to see a pattern of cultural insensitivity and exploitation. What started as a few isolated incidents soon snowballed into a full-blown crisis, as Nas's actions left a trail of broken trust and disillusionment in his wake. The man who once claimed to unite the world through storytelling was now seen as someone who divided it through his own arrogance and ignorance. The controversies kept piling up. There were allegations of false donations, like the time he claimed to have raised money for a Palestinian hospital, only for the hospital to deny receiving any funds. Then there were accusations of cultural insensitivity, like when he studied 6 religions but chose to learn about Islam from his mother rather than a scholar, leading to widespread criticism from Muslims. And then there were the personal scandals, like the breakup video he made with his ex-girlfriend, which many found exploitative and cold. "He wasted years of her life," one viewer commented. "If he could treat someone he claims to love like that, imagine how he'd treat people he has no personal bond with." As the scandals mounted, so did the backlash. People began to see through the facade. They noticed the forced enthusiasm, the exaggerated gestures, the way he talked to his audience as if they were children. And they grew tired of his narcissism, his hypocrisy, and his relentless self-promotion. "He's a wolf in sheep's clothing," one commenter said. "He studied at Harvard and asks why there are so many poor people in the Philippines. He didn't ask himself. He was annoyed by them." The turning point in Nas's career came when he decided to make a video about his own religion, or rather his lack thereof. In a move that shocked and angered many, he claimed to have created a new religion, a blend of all the faiths he had studied during his travels. This self-proclaimed religion, which he presented as a universal solution to spiritual divides, was seen by many as the ultimate act of narcissism. Viewers and critics alike were quick to point out the hypocrisy of someone who had built a career on exploring and respecting diverse cultures, now positioning himself as a self-appointed spiritual leader. "He thinks he's the righteous one viewer remarked, capturing the sentiment of countless others who felt betrayed by his actions. "It's crazy." This incident marked a breaking point for many of his followers. The man who had once been celebrated for his curiosity and storytelling has become a symbol of everything wrong with influencer culture, a culture often built on exploitation, manipulation, and self-interest. His attempt to create a new religion was not just seen as arrogant, but also deeply respectful to the traditions and beliefs he had previously claimed to honor. For those who had once admired him, it was a stark reminder of how far he had strayed from his original mission. The backlash was swift and unrelenting, with many accusing him of using spirituality as a tool for personal gain rather than genuine understanding. This moment, more than any other, cemented his downfall as it revealed the depth of his ego and the extent to which he had lost touch with the values that had once made him relatable. In the end, Nas's attempt to position himself as a spiritual innovator only served to highlight the emptiness of his persona, leaving behind a legacy of disillusionment and distrust. And then, almost as quickly as he has risen, he faded away. His videos stopped appearing in people's feeds, his name stopped trending. For many, it was as if he had never existed. "I forgot about him," one commenter said. "I used to watch his videos every day, and then one day they just stopped showing up. I didn't even notice." But for those who have been paying attention, his downfall was a long time coming. It was a reminder that fame is fleeting and that integrity matters. It was a cautionary tale about the dangers of ego, greed, and the relentless pursuit of views. And it was a lesson in the power of accountability, a lesson that, in the age of social media, no one is untouchable. In the end, Nas Daily's story is not just about one man's rise and fall, it's about the culture that created him, the audience that enabled him, and the system that rewards sensationalism over substance. It's a story that asks us to question what we value, who we trust, and why. And it's a story that, with all its twists and turns, has a simple moral. No matter how high you climb, the truth will always find you. And so, the man who once seemed to have it all now finds himself a cautionary tale. A reminder that in the end, the only thing that truly matters is the legacy you leave behind. And for Nas Daily, that legacy is one of broken trust, shattered reputations, and a career that crumbled under the weight of his own contradictions. The world may have loved him once, but love, as he learned, is not enough to save you from yourself.